with a mad rage in his eye. My name is James Connolly, I didn't come here to die.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Socialist Republicanism for All. This audiobook is entitled Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee 1897 by James Connolly, transcribed by the James Connolly Society in 1997. Available on Marxist.org. But before we dive into the audiobook, I'd like to take a moment to give a massive thank you to Paul Connolly from Marxism Today. That channel was a huge inspiration for my own learning of Marxism. Getting a shout out like that was a massive morale boost and will drive me further to create the revolutionary audio library that I aim to make with this channel, with Connolly's works being to the forefront, but will include other authors as well as time goes on. So as I was saying at the beginning, the audiobook is entitled Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee 1897 by James Connolly, transcribed by the James Connolly Society in 1997. The great appear great to us only because we are on our knees. Let us rise. As a side note, that is a quote from Daniel de Leon. James Connolly had major criticisms of de Leon's view on socialism, and all of those writings that he did on de Leon are available also on Marxist.org. I hope to get around to those eventually. To continue, fellow workers, the loyal subjects of Victoria, Queen of Great Britain and Ireland, Empress of India, etc., celebrate this year the longest reign on record. Already the air is laden with rumours of preparations for a wholesale manufacture of sham, quote, popular rejoicings, end quote, at this glorious, commemoration. Home Rule orators and nationalist Lord Mayors, Whig politicians and Parnellite pressmen have ere now lent their prestige and influence to the attempts to arouse public interest in the sickening details of this feast of flunkeyism. It is time, then, that some organised party in Ireland, other than those in whose mouths patriotism means compromise and freedom high dividends, should speak out bravely and honestly the sentiments awakened in the breast of every lover of freedom by this ghastly farce now being played out before our eyes. Hence the Irish Socialist Republican Party, which, from its inception, has never hesitated to proclaim its unswerving hostility to the British Crown, and to the political and social order, of which, in these islands, that crown is but the symbol, takes this opportunity of hurling at the heads of all the courtly mummers who grovel at the shrine of royalty the contempt and hatred of the Irish revolutionary democracy. We, at least, are not loyal men. We confess to having more respect and honour for the raggedest child of the poorest labourer in Ireland today than for any, even the most virtuous, descendant of the long array of murderers, adulterers and madmen who have sat upon the throne of England. During this glorious reign, Ireland has seen 1,225,000 of her children die of famine, starve to death, whilst the produce of her soil and their labour was eaten up by a vulture aristocracy, enforcing their rents by the bayonets of a hired assassin army in the pay of the, quote, best of the English queens, end quote. The eviction of 3,668,000, a multitude greater than the entire population of Switzerland, and the reluctant emigration of 4,186,000 of our kindred, a greater host than the entire people of Greece. At the present moment, 78% of our wage earners receive less than £1 per week. Our streets are thronged by starving crowds of the unemployed. Cattle graze on our tenantless farms, and around the ruins of our battered homesteads, our ports are crowded with the departing emigrants, and our poorhouses are full of paupers. Such are the constituent elements out of which we are bade to construct a national festival of rejoicing. Working class of Ireland, we appeal to you not to allow your opinions to be misrepresented on this occasion. Join your voice with ours in protesting against the base assumption that we owe to this empire any other debt than that of hatred of all its plundering institutions. Let this year be indeed a memorable one, as marking the date when the Irish workers at last flung off that slavish dependence on the lead of the gentry which has paralysed the arm of every soldier of freedom in the past. The Irish landlords, now as ever the enemy's garrison, instinctively support every institution which, like monarchy, degrades the manhood of the people and weakens the moral fibre of the oppressed. The middle class, absorbed in the pursuit of gold, have pawned their souls for the prostitute glories of commercialism and remain openly or secretly hostile to every movement which would imperil the sanctity of their dividends. The working class alone have nothing to hope for save in a revolutionary reconstruction of society. They, and they alone, are capable of that revolutionary initiative which, with all the political and economic development of the time to aid it, can carry us forward into the promised land of perfect freedom, the reward of age-long travail of the people. To you, workers of Ireland, we address ourselves. Agitate in the workshop, in the field, in the factory, until you arouse your brothers to hatred of the slavery of which we are all victims. Educate, that the people may no longer be deluded by illusory hopes of prosperity under any system of society of which monarchs or noblemen, capitalists or landlords form an integral part. Organise that a solid, compact and intelligent force, conscious of your historic mission as a class, you may seize the reins of political power whenever possible and, by intelligent application of the working class ballot, clear the field of action for the revolutionary forces of the future. Let the canting, fed classes, bow the knee as they may. Be you true to your own manhood, and to the cause of freedom, whose hope is in you, and, pressing unweariedly onward in pursuit of the high destiny to which the Socialist Republic invites you, let the words which the poet puts into the mouth of Mazeppa console you amid the orgies of the tyrants of today. But time at last makes all things even, and if we do but watch the hour, there never yet was human power that could evade, if unforgiven, the patient hate of vigil long, of those who treasure up a wrong. Last updated 7th of August 2003. So this was a speech that James Connolly gave back in 1897, but was also published on behalf of the Irish Socialist Republican Party. In it, he admonishes the aptly named Feast of Flunkeyism, and by flunky he would have meant a person usually from the garrison class throwing themselves at the feet of the monarch, Queen Victoria, and slavishly doing so. And there are people in Ireland that you could even see it in today. But if we travel back to the late 1800s for a second, James Connolly was also involved in organising, giving out sweets to patriotic Irish children along with Constance Markievicz to counter the garrison class organising events where children who supported Queen Victoria would get little treats. And needless to say, James Connolly and Countess Markievicz's event was much more popular. Also, during her visit to Ireland, Queen Victoria visited Muckross House in County Kerry, and that visit was only a 2-day visit, but it bankrupted the family that owned the massive country estate that still exists there today. So that's a bit of a cell-phone from the bourgeoisie owner there. In the speech, he also talks about the vulture aristocracy enforcing their rents by the bayonets of a hired assassin army in the pay of the best of the English queens. And not much has changed really since then. If anyone has been following what has been happening with vulture funds, using heavies to throw people out of their houses up and down the country. This is just one of the many points that prove that his predictions have come true, especially when he spoke about removing the British and hoisting the green flag over Dublin Castle. The Socialist Republic that he spoke of has not been established, and England is still ruling us to our ruin. One last point is how he uses the now infamous phrase agitate, educate and organise. This was since adopted by Lenin, who praised the Irish Citizen Army as being the first Red Army of Europe. And later told James Connolly's son how much he admired his father's works. Anyways, that's the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Massive thank you again to Marxist Paul, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.
a republic for the working class, economic